This is West Virginia Morning. I'm Teresa Wills. 1 in 4 West Virginians receive Social Security benefits, but without changes to the system, those benefits might be cut back.
We want to make sure over these next several years that there is a lot of conversation about this, that there's open debate about this, and that ultimately leads to a solution.
That story and more coming up this West Virginia Morning. Support for West Virginia Morning is provided by Hope Gas, committed to the growth and development of West Virginia to strengthen the community. Information at wvisforhope.com. A federal grand jury has indicted a former state delegate on charges of sexual exploitation of a child. Chris Schultz has more.
United States Attorney Moore Capito announced Wednesday that former teacher David Elliott Pritt was indicted on 3 felony counts. The charges are sexual exploitation of a child, coercion and enticement of a child, and tampering with a witness, victim, or informant. Pritt was initially arrested last month after a criminal complaint accused him of coercing and sexually assaulting an underage female student. An indictment is merely an allegation, and all defendants are presumed innocent unless and until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt in a court of law. Pritt is scheduled to appear in court for an initial appearance, arraignment, and detention hearing on Monday, August 24th. As students return to school, Capito reiterated this is an opportunity for parents and caregivers to talk to their kids about safely reporting and talking about any situation that potentially involves grooming, inappropriate behavior, or abuse. For West Virginia Public Broadcasting, I'm Chris Schultz in Morgantown.
Communities struggling to provide clean drinking water to their residents will get financial and practical help, Governor Patrick Morrisey announced Wednesday. Maria Young reports.
As a result of his 4-county 2-day water listening tour earlier this month, grants and low-interest loans totaling $145 million will be used for water and wastewater infrastructure projects in the coming year, Morrisey said. The state is partnering with Marshall University, West Virginia University, and 11 regional planning and development councils to help understaffed water systems. The process will be public and easy to track, Morrisey said.
And we have to hold people accountable to make sure we get the projects done, right? That means creating a new public dashboard showing where the water funding applications are and where the projects stand.
Morrisey said his administration will work with lawmakers in the coming regular session to modernize utility laws and cut outdated paperwork. For West Virginia Public Broadcasting, I'm Maria Young in Charleston.
Unemployment fell in July compared to the previous month, but so did West Virginia's workforce participation rate. Eric Douglas has more.
West Virginia's seasonally adjusted unemployment rate was 4.1% in July. The total number of employed state residents decreased by 100, while the number of unemployed state residents dropped by 800. Year over year, the state's total non-farm payroll increased by 1,400 jobs, with the largest gain occurring in private education and health services, with 3,200 more jobs. Total government employment lost 1,000 positions, with 2,100 fewer federal jobs, 1,000 fewer local government jobs, and 2,100 more state jobs. West Virginia's seasonally adjusted labor force participation rate also dropped by 1/10 to the nation's lowest at 53.8% in July. For West Virginia Public Broadcasting, this is Eric Douglas in Charleston.
This is West Virginia Morning. I'm Teresa Wills. It's 7:54. Scattered rain and thunderstorms today, highs in the 70s and low 80s. Partly cloudy overnight with lows in the 60s. Partly sunny early Friday morning. Afternoon rain and thunderstorms possible. Highs in the 70s and low 80s. Social Security began 91 years ago when President Franklin Roosevelt signed it into law. Since then, it has provided a social safety net to Americans, allowing many of them to retire with dignity, according to John Hishta, Senior Vice President of Campaigns with AARP. But many experts say that without some action, Social Security benefits will have to be reduced by 20% in 2032. News director Eric Douglas sat down with Hishta to understand the situation.
Where do we stand with Social Security? What's the situation?
First of all, Social Security is in good shape. However, it's going to run out of what's called reserve funds as part of its trust fund by the year 2032. What that means, in essence, is that if Congress and the new president don't find some solutions, then everybody who is currently on Social Security would get a 20% benefit cut. And so we want to make sure over these next several years that there is a lot of conversation about this, that there's open debate about this, and that ultimately leads to a solution.
Do you have any kind of thoughts on the state, how it will affect West Virginia?
Oh, it's huge. Look, 1 in 4 West Virginians are on Social Security, whether it's retirement or disability, as you said. That is a large number. 150,000 folks who are on Social Security right now are lifted out of poverty because they get Social Security benefits. Think of the strain on the system just in West Virginia if those folks didn't receive those benefits. The average benefit in West Virginia is only around $2,000 a month. It's not a whole heck of a lot to live on. Fortunately, it's there and it's solid. The days of pensions, of other retirement savings, it's really tough for folks. One of the statistics I like to use, this is more nationwide, but I'm sure it's applicable here as well. Upwards of 40 to 45% of the American workers have no access to a retirement savings account, which is just stunning when you think about how important then Social Security is. It adds $10.6 billion to the West Virginia economy annually.
What do you want done? What's the way to solve the problem?
So one option is to raise the current income gap, cap. Right now, anybody who makes over $184,500 a year stops paying. If they lift the cap, that in essence could solve the funding issue for the next 40 or 50 years, as an example. There are other ways that you could look at bringing in revenue that could get creative, but that's what we want to see the debate to be about. For folks to come to the table, bring ideas that could generate revenue and at the same time prevent cuts for folks, not just for this generation, but for future generations as well.
Are we talking about lifting the cap entirely to just no cap?
Ways you could lift it entirely. You could do a donut hole where from $200,000 to $400,000 you don't pay any Social Security taxes. Then above $400,000, look. As a society, we've also changed a lot from when this program was originally put into place. There wasn't as much investment income. There wasn't as much passive income. None of that is taxed for Social Security. The other problem we're faced with is a demographic problem. I mean, when the program originally started, 5 workers for every beneficiary existed. Now it's down to like 2 workers for every beneficiary.
That was John Hishta with AARP speaking with Eric Douglas about Social Security. To read more from this interview, visit our website at wvpublic.org. West Virginia Morning is a production of West Virginia Public Broadcasting, which is solely responsible for its content. Support for our news bureaus comes from Shepherd University and Marshall University School of Journalism and Mass Communications. Eric Douglas produced today's show. Listen to West Virginia Morning weekdays at 7:49 a.m. on WVPB Radio, or subscribe to the podcast and never miss an episode. #WV Morning. I'm Teresa Wills.